So the big question is this: how are real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we grow a real estate business conservatively to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. Hey everybody, Ed Matthews here with Real Estate Underground. I am joined by my partner, Rich Brown. Hello, Rich. How are you, sir?
I am happy to be here, back for another episode. Let's go.
Yeah, let's get into it. So this one I've been looking forward to for a while. And in the pre-meeting before we got on here, I mentioned to our guest, Luke Florian. Welcome, Luke, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
I mentioned to Luke that it's mystifying to me that we've inhabited the same space for the past decade plus. And this is actually the first time that I've ever shook his hand, virtually or otherwise. So Luke, welcome. It's great to finally meet you. I've been following your career for quite some time, Facebook stalking mostly, but
I'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Welcome to the show. And on behalf of our members and our audience, thanks for sharing a bit of your time today.
First of all, it's really nice to be here and to meet you guys. And CTREIA is really where it all started for me. So it's nice to kind of come full circle. This whole COVID thing has been interesting, to say the least, for everybody. Quite a roller coaster for us all. Thankfully, for many of us in real estate, it's been really, really good for us. But we're only going to be riding high for so long. I don't think things are going to tank, but you always got to prepare for the worst. But we're in good shape. And again, I've been in CTREIA since 2012, 2013. So it's been a while. So glad you guys have the podcast. And I think it's a good resource for your members.
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
It's great to have you. Rich, you wanted to do the first question.
Sure. Well, first, Luke, you don't know this, but you're known in circles as Luke the Legend, Florian. So,
oh, man, really? I might have heard a whisper. I might have heard a whisper about that, but it's quite flattering. So thank you.
So obviously you've been kicking butt, taking names, and we're thrilled to have you as a CTREIA alumni. But let me ask, you said that CTREIA is how you got started. Tell us, what made you interested in real estate that even brought you to CTREIA in the first place?
Yeah. What brought me to be interested in real estate was kind of when everyone likes real estate is really being your own boss and being in control of your own destiny, having flexibility of a lifestyle and having freedom of time, freedom of money, and freedom to be with your family, which is nice that I'm in a position to do that. My wife and I, she actually just quit her corporate job as well.
Here. Congratulations.
Yeah. She did very, very well. Helped build up and sell an insurance company as a junior partner. And it's not like a small thing where we quit her job, but it made more sense for us because we're about building generational wealth. Working in corporate America, sure, if you're lucky and you're the CEO of the Hartford, you can build some generational wealth, but guess what? You're going to give up a lot of your time.
Yeah.
A lot of your time. You can have all kinds of fancy houses and cars, but you're not going to really use them. What good is it if you can't use all these things or you don't have time to spend with people and build relationships?
Amen to that.
And real estate gives that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things that drove me as well, man. I spent 25 years in corporate America working for technology companies, and most of them were not in Connecticut. They were in California and elsewhere. And after spending decades, 150 nights a year, sleeping in the local Courtyard Marriott, I realized, A, I missed my wife, and B, I missed my kids, right? And I was missing some really cool stuff. The fact that real estate provides that to all of us. Rich, I know you have your stories too, and is
very similar.
Tremendous blessing. Tremendous.
Yeah.
So Luke, let's talk about your business.
How'd you find CTREIA? Oh, I was just going to say, how'd you find a CTREIA and what made you come in?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think years ago, I went to UConn Waterbury. I was sitting in a computer lab. Remember when colleges used to have computer labs, right?
Yes.
So I was sitting in the computer lab.
We're showing our age. We're showing our age right now.
Yeah. So sitting in the computer lab, and I was currently studying to get my real estate license. I was just Googling real estate investing. I had worked with some people and had friends that were investing, owned real estate. Like my parents owned a small portfolio growing up. I kind of watched them run as I was growing up, and I wanted to get involved myself, but also just take it to another level. And it was like back in the day when Google was first out, Google, then I found CTREIA. There was a couple like heavy hitters back then, and I gravitated towards them. They became my mentors. And then I also became good friends with the founders of CTREIA, and they had more or less taken me under their wing. And those relationships were very important building blocks in building my career and kind of setting the path moving forward.
Yeah, Joanne and Lou speak very well of you behind your back.
Yes. Yeah, no, they're incredible people. So yeah,
Yeah. So Luke, you've got your fingers in a lot of different things, right? I mean, your time was that you were an author, and more recently you wholesale a ton, you flip, you're building a substantial rental portfolio. I heard through the grapevine, in fact, you told me that you have also started to look at self-storage. Let's talk about your focus in terms of what your end game looks like and what you focus on day to day to find the deals, raise the capital, and find the time, frankly, because you all require, I assume you require sleep like the rest of us.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to try and pack this into like 30 minutes because
we got time.
I can teach. You guys could too, an entire college course on like what it takes to run all this. I really like to stay in the lane of what's going to make the biggest impact for growth for my company. So if nothing else happens every day, I need to make sure that I'm reaching out to new sellers that are in my pipeline, trying to get to the next level of negotiation, contract signing. We're always driving that. So I'm in constant contact with my sales team, making sure that we're keeping the pipeline of closings full. But on the other hand, like, where are those leads coming from? We got to keep driving our marketing, fine tuning our marketing lists, and making sure that we're on a consistent schedule. Some months might be a little lighter than others, but ultimately, as long as you keep the volume of your marketing up, which for us consists of a lot of direct mail, we do some Google stuff, pay-per-click stuff. Yeah. It's very, 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 very costly. People look at me and they're like, "Oh, like, why don't you just like toss me a deal?" Like, it's like, you know how many no's we have to listen to get that one? Right now, back on my screen, I'm looking at a backlog of over 6,000 leads that we have from the last 12 to 15 years. And we're constantly buying stuff in there. So it's managing that lead flow with our sales team and making sure that our marketing is being done consistently.
You've used that word consistently a couple of times in those last comments. And so tell us more about why it's so important for your business to be consistent with your outreach.
You hear different investors talking and they're like, "Oh, I'm looking for deals now. I have nothing." Well, they didn't build out their team to be able to manage whether it's a flip house or doing the transactional stuff, or whether if it's a bunch of wholesales. So I have my team in place to base this semi-automated, like my renovation or flips or residential redevelopment, as I like to call it.
Yeah,
it just sounds a lot nicer. But but we put together our scopes, and we have really my right-hand man who runs all my project. My project manager runs all of the renovations, and then my operations manager helps facilitate the wholesales with my attorney. And once it's all locked down, I might talk to a seller once. A lot of them I never even meet in person. My team handles mostly everything. So I'm really behind the scenes, making sure that there's no bottlenecks and that my team has the resources that they need to succeed.
Working on your business instead of being in the business, right?
I try to work on my business as much as I can.
Right.
It's taken a while to get to that point, but it's afforded me time to say, all right, well, not that I'm bored or sitting here twiddling my thumbs, but the wholesales and the rehabs were relatively smooth.
Right.
Nothing's ever perfect. So now I'm like, all right, well, let's build up the portfolio. So building relationships with sellers, whether it's small or large apartment buildings, investors. We are probably going to be getting some deals where we may syndicate a couple opportunities that are very large that give our investors substantial returns with some really good tax advantages. But so I'm building relationships with the investors and finding the opportunities. There's more money chasing deals than there's more money than there is deals right now.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
My strong suit is building a relationship with the seller.
Mm-hmm.
And my claim to not fame, but my claim to fame, I guess you're going to say, is really finding off-market deals. I've never had to rely on a single broker or a single person. Like, If I don't have any deals, it's my fault.
Right.
It's because I'm freaking lazy. It's almost become a sport for me. It's like sport fishing or like deal hunting. Yeah, I just want to keep everything moving. We're also diversifying to storage. So it's cool. We're diversified within real estate. You have the flipping, the wholesaling, buying a whole portfolio, residential, and then the storage. And there's more too. We don't have time to get into all.
Yeah. Right.
So Luke, the stuff that you're buying, are you marketing only in Connecticut? Do you market out of state as well? And if so, what other places?
Major focus on residential, like wholesale rehab properties in Connecticut. It's just easier to manage flips that are local within driving distance, within an hour and a half or so. Because I'm central Connecticut, located in Southington. So a lot of our stuff is pretty close to here. But we are marketing in Florida, the Carolinas, mostly Florida and Carolinas. And we're thinking about marketing a little bit in Texas, but there's some areas that are just so flooded. I just don't think it's, I kind of want to go to the more up and coming areas that aren't so hot seat locations, more or less.
When you're looking at a market, what are some of the attributes of a market that's worth looking at in terms of, are you looking at population growth, job numbers? What are the criteria that you use?
Mostly population growth and
okay.
Jobs. Yeah, that drives, and what's the sustainability too? Is it like a short spike just because of COVID, or is this going to be something that will be sustained?
Is manufacturing relocating there, or there, major corporations moving into the area, that kind of thing, right?
Right. Exactly. So it's price driven too. Like, am I going to ever buy a deal in a market that's declining rapidly? No, probably not. But for the right money, you can always buy it. You can always find someone else to pay more as long as you can negotiate, right? So every deal has its price.
Absolutely.
So thinking back as you've come along your journey, what are some of the big challenges that you'd say that you faced that you had to overcome to get where you are today?
I'd say like early on, raising money was hard. And now obviously it's not where like CTREIA was actually big because I got my first couple small deals under my belt. Mm-hmm. I had met a few people who were totally under the radar. You would never suspect it. And they just quietly approached me and said, hey, Luke, I got some money. If you got a deal, let's talk. And I had a couple breakfasts, had them do a few ride-alongs with me to like really, I was 24 at the time with very little experience. And so I built that relationship and that trust early on. And then from there, it just really just exploded, So that was one of the hard things early on. And then contractors. Contractors is.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Go ahead.
It's hilarious, actually. So it's like herding cats, right? So I have a carpenter that's been with me for 6 years, and he's a sub, but he does a lot of work with us, and I trust him. And I got him doing all the millwork and cabinet installs in our hotel conversion project that we're doing in Simsbury. And the relationship and the pricing and the trust that I have with him, where he's got my back with a lot of the other people that I'm bringing into that project, is unbelievable. And, it's just and I have some great GCs, general contractors on that job too. I'm blowing their minds because they're in this whole commercial realm, and I'm bringing these guys up. They're helping me flip 20 houses a year. And I'm like, hey guys, we got this hotel and we're converting it to 25 luxury apartments. Let's go. So the relationship with those contractors that stayed with me and had loyalty, they're going to be the ones with their foot in the door. They're going to have the opportunity that a lot of smaller, medium-sized contractors don't get. But we've recycled through a lot of contractors to get to that point. And
right.
we've suffered a couple little burns here and there, some fail safes in place. So we have limited exposure on that stuff, right? You never want to give a contractor too much money up front. I've heard of some newer investors say, if this guy is going to GC the whole project, he gets $35,000 and it disappears. Well, whose fault is that? You got to educate yourself. You guys at CTREIA are good at the whole coaching program, guiding people into the right way to deal with contractors. You got to keep them honest too. Just because they're buddy with you doesn't mean you give them every job automatically. So got to speed check them every once in a while. Hey, why is that kitchen $1,500 to install when it should be $1,000? Or, it just creeps up on you.
Yeah. And it's funny. I was joking with somebody on our team earlier about the fact that a couple of our contractors, I went to high school with a couple of them, and I'm 52. That was like 400 years ago. And there's a challenge where would I have a beer with them? Absolutely. Do I want them swinging a hammer for us every day? Maybe not. Right. And being consistent and knowing that somebody has your back and that they're going to do the right thing, even when you're not paying attention because you're on something else, is immeasurably valuable.
100%.
Yeah. You can't pay them enough.
No, you can't. It's like it's that intrinsic value.
Without a doubt.
And it helps you move with velocity in other areas of the business because you're not worried about babysitting your contractors or micromanaging.
Yeah. And that comes down to the highest and best value of your time, right? Mm-hmm. Is your time better spent working on the business like you were talking about earlier, meeting with investors to raise money, or any of the other things I'm sure you do on a daily basis? Or is it being at the work site at 7:15 in the morning to make sure everybody's showing up when they're supposed to? I would submit it's the former, not the latter, right?
Exactly.
And the other part of it is if schedules start to slip, I would assume that, a lot of your properties are leveraged with some sort of debt. And every day that you lose is more interest you're paying on that money, right? So
money. Yeah. Time is money. That's for sure.
Buying investment real estate is both thrilling and sometimes stressful. Without a lending expert by your side, most investors don't stand a chance. That's where CTREIA funding comes in. CTREIA funding was founded by investors to help investors just like you fund their deals. Whether you're buying a single-family rehab, an apartment building, or really any investment property, our team will understand your deal and help you close quickly. Go to CTREIAfunding.com or call us at 860-876-0572.
So, Luke, with everything that you've gone through at this point, what is your favorite part of your life? What has real estate done for you that you're enjoying today?
The flexibility, the freedom of time is really the most important thing for me. Being able to literally wake my daughter up every morning or be here when she wakes up and be here when she goes to bed and have dinner with my family 7 nights a week, almost, unless we're doing like a happy hour or something with CTREIA, but being able to spend that time with my family, my friends, and you really can't put a price on that.
You cannot.
Yeah.
So Luke, you mentioned you had a bunch of mentors as you've come along. I'm curious, what's the best advice you've ever gotten? And out of curiosity, who gave it to you?
You had me stumped a little bit because I've gotten so much advice from people over the years.
Right.
I would say stay focused. I meet a lot of people that have like that shiny object syndrome. So pick one thing, stick with it. It comes back to like the law of 10,000 hours, right? Like you're not going to be an expert in a million things. Like become an expert in one thing, and spend 10,000 hours. Become the best in the world at that one thing, and then everything else will fall into place.
Right.
So I became really good at negotiating like directly with sellers, like off market, and marketing, and kind of fine tuning the marketing to do that. And everything else has fallen into place. I have more commercial real estate deals in the pipeline now, than I have in my entire life.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So it's super, super exciting, and it's actually easier, the commercial stuff, and what I've found.
Less emotion, right?
Less emotion. And then you got to remember, like, you're dealing with like hundreds of thousands or millions and millions of dollars. And so usually the people you're dealing with, whether it's a contractor or a seller or a bank, I mean, you're dealing with like other sophisticated people, sophisticated business owners, bankers, sellers, and it's just much easier to deal with them.
Yeah.
And you can reason with them. There's very complex contracts, and there comes up a whole nother set of like skill sets in order to deal in that realm.
Right.
It's just so much easier with other professionals. So.
Yeah. So one of the things that is interesting when I meet someone who's looking to get into real estate, and the concept of focus is really important to me because I have a deep and profound case of ADD, right? I'm the classic shiny object guy, right? One of the things that a lot of people say is, hey, I talked to Rich and he flips houses and he does multifamily, and Ed, you do the same. And how do you keep it all straight? And what you said was important, right? In that I wasn't always a multifamily guy. I started flipping. Actually, I got good at marketing. Then I started flipping. And I got good at that. And I took the capital from that and I went and bought multifamily. And Rich, I think your story is similar. And if you look at the things that you do within your business, someone might say, well, he's wholesaling, he's flipping, he's got multifamily, commercial odd deals, he's thinking about syndicating. I want to do all that too. And the key that you said there is really important is you got great at marketing. You got great at negotiating. You started with flipping or were you mostly wholesaling back in the day?
Flipping and wholesaling, I kind of did them.
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand, right? You keep the ones you want, you wholesale the ones that aren't a good fit.
Exactly. Yep.
And then you got great at that. And then you took the capital made from that and you started to get into multifamily. Right. And so the thing I want to say to the folks that are listening right now is the whole concept of 10,000 hours is real. In order to get great at all the things that Luke, you're great at, it took you 10,000 hours to get good at marketing and negotiations, and then at wholesaling and flipping, and then at multifamily, and now at large commercial, and then at self-storage and all the other things you're doing. Right.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different competencies that are transferable. And it's actually, in a way, because we've done so much volume on like contracts and negotiation and deals and closings and dealing with attorneys, I've had way more reps doing deals than a lot of people that, yes, not everyone, but like some people that I deal with in commercial, I've had way more repetitions.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'll just leave it at that. It's just interesting to see. There's some advantages coming from, I feel there's some advantages coming from like more smaller investing because you can do the volume and then you get really good at certain things and you just apply a lot of those principles when you're buying apartment buildings or storage facilities. And it's talking the lingo too. When you're talking with a seller, sellers can sniff you out. Like they can sniff you out pretty quick if you don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, you get the lingo down and everything. It's very rare on large commercial deals that people are asking me for proof of funds. I can give it to them, but they never ask because it's like we're talking the same language on the same wavelength.
It's without a doubt of credibility. Yeah. You bet.
Yeah.
So one of the things you talked about when we were prepping for the show, you talked a lot about you being a relationship guy. How has being a relationship guy helped you build your business?
Yeah. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie.
Carnegie.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome book. Love that. Yeah. So I haven't read it. I'm due to read it again. I usually like to read that like once a year. But I would say that book has made us millions. And just being able to teach you how to like build those relationships with your sellers. So I got to read it again because I probably forgot some stuff. And I'm like, oh, I remember that. So I'll do that on my next acquisition. Yeah. Looking people in the eye, giving a nice firm handshake, and relating with them, finding something about their life, like not just having it all about business. If you see a picture of their family and stuff, like, I met with a seller a couple of weeks ago. It had a small toddler and I have a 2.5-year-old. It's like, we're talking about get them to bed now and how it's impossible. Like, oh, is your child still napping? But you got to have like that human element when you're dealing with people, because it's not just all about business. We're all here to make money, but we're here to offer a service and help people too. If you give them options, it's like peeling back the onion. Like you got to peel back those layers. You ask questions and you ask the right questions and you ask more questions and you don't try and rush through your sales process and just sell them quickly. You can build a relationship. Well, first of all, like you also I grow to like really like these people,
right?
And it's not uncommon where I've done a deal, we get through the process, we make a little bit more money, or we get over asking price offers, and we do really well. And we kick back the seller an extra couple $1,000. But it's just like we didn't ask for this. Like, well, you worked with us, you were cooperative. I like you. We did better than we thought, so there's a little extra. And we don't have to do that, but we're all human. So it's just like
without a doubt.
You might as you got to have like an element where you're really helping people.
I tell my daughters that character is what you do when people aren't paying attention or they're not expecting you, right?
Yeah.
And that's it.
I'll give you an example. We just closed on a property yesterday, in Waterbury, in the neighborhood. I really don't want to flip over there, but it's actually in a transitional area. It's not terrible. We get it at a great price. I had it wholesaled for like very, very healthy profit. And its buyer fell through and the seller was pissed. And I called them up and I said, listen, like, we're just going to close on it. You know, so our person we were wholesaling to, they couldn't get the financing or whatever. Same old story, and a broker trying to like show a deal in. It's just like with a hope and a, you know, what was a whim of promise, hope and a promise, or hope and a prayer. That's what I always mess those up. With a hope and a prayer, it didn't quite happen. So we just freaking closed on it. And we're going to make significantly less, but your name is all you have. So you got to stand behind what you say you're going to do. We'll do a nice little fluff and buff on the project and put it back out there, and it'll sell fast. And then our contractors are happy because I have more work. And,
right.
So,
right.
And we send in the troops, and we're going to relist it in like 2 weeks. So, and everybody's happy.
Yep.
So Luke, if you were, as you are right now, talking to aspiring investors, what would you be telling them to do? How to get started? What should they be looking at? What should they read? Who should they follow?
Yep. Educate yourself. Get your hands as many real estate books as you can. I start my morning by reading. Before I even look at my phone, I grab a coffee and I'm reading for at least a half an hour every morning. Before I do anything else, I try to do it 7 days a week. Usually Monday through Friday. It's like my religious habit in the morning. So I usually, for me, I try to read anything that I'm working on, so it's relevant to what I'm doing now. So if there's someone trying to get into real estate, there's a million books out there. I mean, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is like everybody talks about that.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. You can just go on Amazon. I mean, literally for me, when I hear someone recommend a book, I have my Amazon. I go on, I order it right away. So I'll forget. There's a stack right there.
Yeah.
So I read all of those like in the last 6 months. But educate yourself and find a mentor. If you can, offer to work for free. One of my manager who works for us now for 6 years, he volunteered to work for me for free, and I had to start forcing him to take money. And now he knows just about everything that I know about real estate, there's quite a bit. I mean, so I still have a runway. I have a lot to learn. I'm a student of real estate forever, but he learned so much because he's like, I'm going to work for you for free. If you find the right person, the right match, that can work. CTREIA is a great resource, and surround yourself with people that if you have a skill set that you can offer an investor who can use some help or is trying to grow and maybe doesn't have the resources to pay you, maybe you can offer that resource, whatever that is. It could be helping them do cold calls. It could be helping them do lead follow-ups. Try and shadow acquisition appointments if they'll let you. There's a lot of different ways for people to get in and get involved. Ultimately, if you find the deals, if you can just figure out a way to find deals through your networking, people or door knocking, you'll find the money. Get a good enough deal, the money's going to come. So.
Absolutely. Leaders are readers, right? And I see a stack as tall as your toddler, books behind you sitting there. I'm the same way. I read every morning. What's on your nightstand these days?
Right now, I'm reading Multipliers. So this one right here, it's Liz Wiseman. It's a book about leadership, right? And so leaders ask the right questions. They spark debate. And for me, I don't like to hover over my staff, So we have high level objectives. We want to empower people to grow and empower people to have, and by having accountability and ownership of certain areas of the business. And that's how I'm able to flip and wholesale efficiently.
Yeah.
And also be able to continue growing the portfolio of apartments because we're empowering our people to be able to take something and run with it.
Right on. And it's called Multipliers?
Yeah, it's called Multipliers. Multipliers, how the best leaders make everyone smarter. It's awesome.
Oh, wow. So you've really entertained us here today. You've given us some gems, some nuggets. If you had to give a parting piece of advice to the next generation of Luke Florian, what would that be?
Find out what you're really passionate about. Find out what you love. What do you love most about real estate, right? So if you just want to be a real estate agent, just get your license and stay focused on just find out what you love within real estate, right? Because if you're listening to this, I probably want to get into real estate for one of the reasons that the three of us are. But find out what your niche is and just double down on that niche and learn everything you can and consume and just consume your energy, consume as much information. There's so much free information out there today, more today than there was 12, 13 years ago.
Without a doubt.
15 years ago when I first got started. Be obsessed. Like I'm obsessed with I like to a fault even. Like I have to consciously turn it off because I just love it so much.
Right.
But for me, it's not work. So if you can find out what you love, you will never work a day in your life. Right. And I'm sure you've heard that before, but
and it's true.
It's not. It's just not work.
So when you're not obsessing on real estate, just curious, what do you like to do outside of work?
I love to spend time in Vermont. I'm a huge skier. My goal every year is to ski 100 days. I haven't quite gotten there yet, but I love to ski. And I joke with my wife, I'm like, well, every commercial building we buy is going to give us more time to be able to ski.
Right.
It's like the opposite. So it's my weird obsession. But I'm a big skier. I love mountain biking, the outdoors, hiking, being in the mountains, and spending time with my family. That's why I got into this business, is to have that time.
Absolutely. So Luke, thank you so much for your time today. If people want to get in touch with you to pick your brain or send a deal your way or just to say hello and introduce themselves, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the best way would be to just shoot me an email. It's luke@managefreedom.com. So luke@managefreedom.com.
All right. Awesome. Well, Luke, Florian, Thank you very much for your time today. Appreciate all your insights and your experience. I'm sure the folks that are listening right now are pretty fired up that it started with one meeting at a CTREIA event all those years ago, and look where you are now. So congrats, and thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. And,
thank you for your time, Luke.
Absolutely no problem. I look forward to meeting you guys in person one day soon.
Yeah, that's hopefully
absolutely.
This has been the Real Estate Underground Podcast, a CTREIA presentation. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends. If there's a specific topic you want us to cover, post it in the comments. For more information on the Real Estate Underground Podcast or CTREIA, go to realestateundergroundpodcast.com or ctreia.com. Until next time, happy investing.